Sit back, relax, and join William and Lee on their journey through the strange and mysterious world.
And welcome to Season 2, Episode 12 of Strange and Mysterious World. We are going to be discussing heliotropic or tropic breathing today with Ericka.
Yes.
So the little I know about this breathing technique is apparently it stems quite old. It's like it comes back from a religious background, but then there's something. It's to change your consciousness or not your consciousness, but your level of to put you in an alternate state of one of the things is to put you like almost in an alternative state to get you to a different state. I don't know. That's one of the things I was reading up about it. And apparently it comes from the Greek word, something to do with when you like wholeness, moving towards wholeness. Apparently that's the meaning, moving towards wholeness from the Greek words.
Yes. So anyway, so my experience with holotropic breathing, well, it was apparently like, I think it was Steve Groth. I'm just going to have to check that out before I sound retarded, but Steve
Yeah,
Groth.
they were in the 70s. There were two of them.
Steve Groth, he was experimenting with psilocybin mushrooms back in the 60s or whenever it was, and experimenting with psychology, and they were getting such good results on how to treat depression, OCD. You know, like the whole thing that's exploded now in the psilocybin world of how great it is with treating depression and post-traumatic stress and everything that's all coming out now. But anyway, they were researching in the 70s, and Steve Groth was one of the fourth. He was the front, one of the, the guys that was head of his time and hating all of this stuff. And then obviously the ban on drugs happened with Nixon. And all that psilocybin research with psychology had to stop. So he went and he decided, okay, well, he's got to find a way to get people into this like state of consciousness that he was like finding so much good results with it in his practice with the psilocybin. Like, what's the substitute? So he found this breathing. I can't remember where he got the breathing from. It was, I mean, I'm sure it's obviously been around for centuries. Probably came from like somewhere in the yogic tradition or something. And anyway, so it's a state of like hyperventilating basically for like a very long time until your frontal cortex kind of switches off and you can really experience like a mystical kind of experience. But anyway, so I'll just tell you why we did it today. It was because my experience with it, Lee, was probably been the most profound out of all of the healing, all of the initiations I've done, all of the freaking meditations, all of the psychologists I've seen over the years, and all of the healing things I've done, all of the initiations, all of the courses I've done, self-betterment courses. This has been the most potent thing I've ever done. And it started in rehab.
You had to replace the drug.
Well, so anyways, I went to this rehab. It was quite a cool rehab. I don't know. I think it's changed a lot now because it was like 9 years ago. But they I had a drinking problem. Obviously, we've covered this on the shows, lots of shows before. So if people have been listening, I'm gonna go through all of that shit again. But so anyways, I was in this rehab, and they were doing all these like holistic kind of healing things that we would do meditation and drumming circle and all this kind of like hippie stuff, which it was quite fun. So the holotropic breathing, the one day we did this holotropic breathing thing. And like, so we all lying there and we just like, breathing away. They put this hectic music on. So you go into like this trance state, like this drumming kind of like Native American kind of tech. It sounds like half Native American music slash with techno slash with, I don't know, but you got to like, I'm like breathing to this beat, right? And I'm breathing. And all of a sudden I go into almost like, it's like because I remember before rehab, I mean, I went into rehab for drinking, so it wasn't like I was addicted to magic mushrooms or whatever. But I remember I had this one magic mushroom trip where I thought I was going insane, and I was so paranoid because I was like, oh my God, I took too much mushrooms, I'm going fucking insane, and I thought I was going insane. But anyway, so I was doing this holotropic breathing thing, and I went into this like state of like going on a mushroom trip almost. But I went to that kind of state of where I was freaking out that I was going to lose my mind. And I thought, oh my God, this is so intense. I suddenly just broke down and I started weeping, like uncontrollably just weeping for no reason while I was there. But I was like the only one. Everyone's just breathing their fucking asses off like to this music. And I'm the one just lying there fucking crying my eyes out. Anyway, this lady comes, um, and the lady that's doing the whole ceremony, and she comes and she's like helping me and like whatever, and we had another holotropic breathing session. Like we had, while I was there, we had two. That was one, and we had one later on. But nothing profound happened the second time. But I remember leaving rehab and like on my whole journey through this whole spiritual kind of like wilderness of trying to find my way and find all of these spiritual things and opening up my consciousness and my mind. And we've also talked about it many times on the podcast. But the holotropic breathing thing always came back to me, and it was like there's something happened there, something profound. So I went and I looked at all the people online of who were doing holotropic breathing in Cape Town. And this one lady like stood out to me the most. Like I didn't see a picture of her or anything, it was just her name. I thought, oh, I'll give her a go. So like I make an appointment with her. I rock up at her house. And when I get there, she opens the door and it's the lady from rehab. And I'm like, oh, this is quite a cool coincidence or synchronicity.
Synchronicity. Yeah.
So anyway, so I went in there. And this is probably about 3 years after rehab, eh? So it's been quite a while. Still sober, obviously, and I've been sober since for 9 years, but it's just other way. Promise.
Yeah, you must get your coin, and you're like 10 years to get like a coin or something.
Yeah, I'm looking for the big one. That's when everyone relapses because I think they've made it. It's gonna be interesting. So anyway, so I lie down and she starts the breathing. But this is great because like I'm on my own now. I don't have like all these fucking, because like when you're in rehab, it's like a mental institution. You would, I mean, including myself, we all fucked, like in the head and emotionally, and it's like you're in a big mental institution. Anyway, so I'm lying there with all the retards, including myself. Like no disrespect, we all retards. So like we're all lying there and like doing this thing, but it's weird because you got all these people around, But now I've got this I've got a session by myself, it's a one-on-one, and I'm breathing my ass off there. I'm breathing deep. And then all of a sudden, I just slip into this this other state of consciousness, and I go into my childhood. Like I'm there and I just see myself sitting there as this little boy playing on the floor in my bedroom when I was like 4 or 5 years old or something. And I could just feel him like he was he just felt so unloved by his mother, like by my mom. Like I could just feel it, I could sense it, I could see him there. And I just fucking broke down. I just went like bliss. I've never had such a hectic release of like emotion, like crying. It was like the ugliest crying you could have imagined. It was like ugly crying. It was like a wildebeest getting like skinned alive by like getting eaten by hyenas at the same time, and you can all think of all sorts of other things, but it was bad. I mean, I'm surprised when I came out of that. I actually thought, I wonder why the police aren't here, because the neighbors must have been, what the fuck is going on next door there? So I'm like having a crying attack, right? And it was amazing. And then I suddenly went through every single episode of my life. Like I went through everything. Like I went through the whole entire, like a life review kind of thing. Like while I was there until all the way until that exact moment I was lying in the bed. It was the most surreal thing ever. It was like I went through every single moment until I was lying in the bed. And the love that I felt, like it was so funny because like I'd never ever experienced like such like love and 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 like I realized that everything like in that moment, that, and I mean it's funny, I'm gonna say this, but I know when other people say this I just want to like vomit on them, but like because it's so cringe, but like I really, like in that moment I really felt that the only thing that mattered in anything in the whole world was actually love. Like it was the most profound experience, like Lee, I can't even tell you. So and like any more profound than any drug I've taken, any like it was so moving. And I came out of there and I got into my car and I was sitting there and I was in the state like I just got to tell everybody that I know that I love them. And I was sitting there and I was thinking about like, okay, who am I going to start with? I'm going to phone this person. But then I started thinking, oh my God, okay, well that's going to be fucking weird. Imagine if I just start phoning people like, and like I've never spoken to for so long. I just like I mean, what is the conversation before that and what is the conversation after that? You know, it's going to be so fucking awkward. Or would I just go like, I love you, and I just put the phone down, you know? Like,
Yeah.
so
Hey, bro, I love you, buddy.
I
Check you
kind of
soon.
I kind of just bailed on that idea, and but and then that euphoria was with me for like a week or something, you know, like and I thought like, wow, that is the most biggest release and the most profound thing I've ever done with any. And also it's funny because like, I mean, I was going to therapists since like, I mean, you know, you heard some of my stories from previous podcasts, like, you know, getting expelled from schools and stuff. So I was always like a problem child. So I was always seeing some therapist. Like the school was always sending me to therapy, the freaking my parents. And and it was just like they're the biggest bullshitters. Like I've never known a profession to be just such a load of bullshit I've ever come across in my life. I just think it's the biggest fast ever. They actually don't know what's going on. They have no freaking idea, Lee, what they're talking about or what's going on or this human psychology or anything, because it's so much more complex. And I think it's got such a spiritual aspect to it that we don't actually understand, because there's a spiritual, there's a physical and a mental stage. And we're only looking at the two, and we're leaving the third one out so badly. And that's where the one that you got to like look at it at a whole, like all of the three of them together. And the spiritual side, I think, is such a major thing that we need to be healing. And we just throw that out completely. And that day, that what happened to me, that was so profound. I couldn't get that in any bloody like you know, going to see any psychologist or anything. It was so amazing. And so I went, you know, like every 3 months I would just go back and do it. And you know, sometimes nothing happened, and then sometimes I would have a profound experience like that, and it would be something that I didn't even know in my life that was actually affecting me.
Holding you back.
It was the most mundane thing. I didn't know that where I was going through, and I did not know how it was so affecting me at that time. But then I'd go into the outer stage, and I'd see it, and I'd be like, "What the fuck?" And then I'd have like the release again. You know, it wasn't you know, it wasn't as crazy as that one, but it's still like a release and like a, you know, very emotional. And then other times I would just be like, other times I'd go, I'd just feel, you know, like I'd be just laughing and stuff like that. So it's always different, you know. But also then I realized that, okay, well, this breathing thing has got something to it. So like, you know, with microdosing, with psilocybin mushrooms now, that people take microdosing every day. That's the thing. Like they take a small amount that you don't get high, but it's still rewiring your brain apparently and whatever. I've also tried microdosing. I didn't actually tried it for like 6 months, almost a year, and I didn't feel nothing profound ever happened with the microdosing, which you know, a lot of promises and shit about it. But who knows? You know, maybe for other people. I'm not saying it's just my experience. I'm just saying it's my experience. But so anyway, with the microdosing with the psilocybin mushrooms, I thought, okay, well, you know, Wim Hof, you know, with Wim Hof breathing and all of these kind of like because holotrophic breathing takes 3 hours, like all the sessions I do with Ericka. It's like a 3 hour breathing, like intense thing, you know. I mean, there's a bit of
3 hours. Jesus.
yeah, well, there's a bit of in the beginning. You go there and you do a little bit of counseling, what you come in for the breathing, and kind of, I think it's good because it puts something in your subconscious as well. But anyway, every time I've gone and done the breathing, what we talk about before is actually never the thing that comes up in the breathing. It's actually something completely unrelated or something I don't even know about that's affecting me. So I don't even know if the talk is actually even necessary. Just go and do. But what I'm trying to get to is that, like, so the microdosing, I thought, okay, well, this is so powerful going for like a 3 hour session of this breathing. If I just do a little bit of it every day, that could be good for me, you know. So I've been doing that ever since. Like, every day I do like this. It's almost like a Wim Hof.
Microdose.
Yeah, it's like a microdose of breathing. So like I do like, you know, 3 minutes of the breathing and then I do like these different breath holds. It's almost like a Wim Hof method, but it's actually from a guy that went over to Russia. Well, it's not really, he's from Russia, and he's an anthropologist, and he studied a lot of yogic techniques and stuff, and he came up with these breathing methods. I mean, the people that he studied from had like superhuman abilities. We'll actually do a podcast on that sometime. But so I've been doing his breathing techniques, which is like it's like Wim Hof, but it's a bit more intense. It's longer because Wim Hof says you're going to just breathe 30 breaths, then do the holds. The Russian guy, he does it for like 3 minutes and then does the holds, but 3 times. So it takes about 20 minutes, and then there's all these visualizations as well as different techniques of going through the nostrils or the mouth, or the nostrils and the mouth, and doing some stomach things, and even banda locks in between the breathing. But anyway, sorry, I'm now making it a long story. But I do that every day, and it's quite profound. And actually, I look forward to it every day because of the feeling I get after that. When I've come out of that, it's just like I'm so clear. I feel so clear. I feel so uplifted. But but also the second time I had another big experience was actually just doing it by myself. Because the thing is with doing the breathing and the when I was microdosing on the breathing. I would actually sometimes, if I didn't have a lot to do in the day, I would do it for longer. I wouldn't just do it for the 20 minutes. I would do it because of the tingling over my whole body. It just the sensations and stuff. It's just so profound. It's almost like a getting high in a way, But like so I'm lying there and I'm doing this, just feeling these beautiful sensations all over my body and there's pins and needles and this. And then, and this is by myself now without anybody or whatever. I was doing it. And I can't remember how long I was doing it because I wasn't timing it. I was just doing it for just to feel the feeling. I suddenly had this sense of missing my mother so much, like this feeling of my mother. The mother thing came up again. And again, I just broke down into emotional tears or whatever. But immediately when I came out of that thing, I just phoned my mother. And it's always been awkward with my mother because like we've never had like a good relationship or whatever because she's so like she doesn't show emotion very well, whatever. So I just immediately just phoned her and I just told her how much I loved her and how much I miss her. And it was just profound. And we both like fucking crying our eyes off on the phone and just having this moment. And like, our relationship has become so much better since, like that. And then also, the funny thing is that with seeing all those psychiatrists over the years, I could never really pinpoint what the fuck was wrong with me, or they couldn't either. And I did this one holotropic breathing thing. It takes me straight to the point of where in my whole life, why have felt so much self-doubt, no belief in myself, socially awkward, social anxiety, like not loving myself. It all came back to that moment. Like, and it was so profound because it was like I didn't have anybody taking me to that moment. I didn't have anybody coaching me. I didn't have anybody. It was all me in a altered state of consciousness that just showed me this is your fucking thing. That's why you're so fucked up. And it just took me there. It showed me there. I experienced it, and it just all came. It just erupted out of me, and it was such a healing, like
Medicine.
epiphany. I don't know what you call it, but anyway. So there's my long-winded story of holotropic breathing. So anyway, so hey, Erica, the lady that do the breathing with, we're gonna have her on now, and she can tell us all about how she got into it.
One thing I wanted to go before you actually bring her on, the stuff that you do for the people, the Reiki and all that stuff. Do you ever do that with someone, or is it just like is it just for yourself that you kind of do that? Because I know you do a lot of healing classes and a lot of stuff that you got online.
Yeah.
With that.
So it's funny.
With anandamaya.com.
Yes, well, I mean, the thing is, my film work keeps me so busy and everything else that I hardly have any time to actually do it. And also, I mean, practicing Reiki, I try. I don't know, like you have to practice it to get the energy flowing right. You have to be doing it quite often, otherwise you start losing it. So I don't do it enough to actually keep the energy strong enough, and so it's a pity, because like I did. So she's a bit lost. Let me just send her the link again.
Yeah. Tell her to click on the link. Click on the link and then leave it at that, man.
But anyway, the thing is that I'm actually wanting to go do this holotropic breathing course so I can actually start doing it with other people because it's actually the thing I believe in the most. So I'm definitely going to do a course and start offering it to people because I mean that's also another thing is when people come to me and they especially like because being coming from an addict background and going to rehab and everything, a lot of people that are going through the same stuff in my family circles and and friend circles, whatever, they come to me for advice, And
Because you've been through it.
Yeah, and the first thing I say is like, phone Ericka. Or just do some breathing. Just go and start doing, and I give them
but for 3 hours, dude, I wouldn't sit for 3 hours doing that. I don't have the time to do that.
No, I'm telling you, go do it once and you'll see.
But for 3 hours, dude, I don't have the time to do that for 3 hours. There's no way in my day ever that
Like
there's
a one
actually
and a
3
half.
hours.
We'll talk with Ericka because the problem is also when I go see her, I talk so much shit. I think maybe that takes up maybe a lot of the time.
She said to me like maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. Then I think, okay, cool, I could probably do that. But 3 hours.
Then, Oh, but come on, you're never gonna heal. Come on, man. Eh? How much healing?
Well,
How badly do you want it? How badly do you want it?
I'm not too far off the track, so that's okay, I think.
Yeah, I suppose he's not so fucked, so it's okay. You can just do 20 minutes in the morning. I need a 3-hour I need a 10-hour session. Anyway, here's Ericka. Here she comes.
Cool.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Good.
That's wonderful.
Hello, Ericka.
Hello.
Hey, Ericka.
You're pushing me beyond my comfort zone here.
That's good. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to get this breathing going.
Yeah. I have been breathing very strongly.
Like, but nervous.
Yes.
Down. Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you, Ericka. And also, I've been telling Lee about my profound experiences with doing the holotropic breathing and all the crying.
Yeah.
William's a big crier. There's a lot of crying.
I love a good cry.
Well, I think it's wonderful when men can get in touch with their vulnerabilities and their emotional sides, because as youngsters, you're all taught to push it down, to be strong, to be men, to go to the army, to fight, to protect. And there isn't a lot of space for vulnerability, and if you can find a modality that is not invasive, but that allows you to go into your emotional baggage and to look at it and to be vulnerable about it in a safe space, that's a real gift.
Yeah, but we better watch out, Ericka, because if we go too far, I might just, there's a fine line between that and wanting to cut my manly bits off and going fully
Join the woke brigade.
Yeah.
Well, there's always balance. William, we talk about balance the whole time, don't we? Balance between in and out, balance between waves coming and waves going. Balance.
Yeah, William will be known as sad sack.
Yeah. I love become very vulnerable on this podcast. People just probably just the crying
game. The crying game.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ericka, I wanted to ask you, how did you get into this? How did you get into holotropic breathing, becoming a holotropic breathing?
I've been doing this breathwork process now for 4 decades. Can that be 40 years, and more probably. And the way it started was I was living in a spiritual community, and a young man arrived there from England who had been doing rebirthing breathing. And we were in a community, and he lay us all down on the lounge floor one afternoon, played some soft music and got us breathing. And the rest is history. It was just such an automatic process for me. I just felt it was so wonderful. We didn't have to talk. We didn't have to share anything. We could just lie and use our breath, and amazing feelings came up. Everyone in the room had a different experience, depending on where they're at in their life journeys. And I just thought, well, this is better than psychotherapy. This is better than anything, because when you're talking to a client, the client always has a filter. There's always the thing of, am I going to be a fool, or am I going to look stupid, or am I going to sound ridiculous? And so clients protect themselves. But with breath, when you're not talking and you're just lying with your eyes closed with soft music playing, then grief, pain, guilt, anger, all of this stuff can come up, but in a safe, controlled space. And it just seemed like the modality that I wanted to run with. And I've done it ever since. I've been doing breath work now with groups and with people for over 40 years. Wow.
So did you go for any training? Sorry.
How did the training go?
No, where did you go train?
I've been training with it over all the years. I flew to America to be with Leonard Orr, who started a thing called rebirthing breathwork in the early days. And because in those days, people weren't talking about breathwork. Today we've got Wim Hof and a plethora of other people all talking about breathing and breathwork and how important breath is. But in those days, nobody had hardly heard of it. So we went overseas for our trainings. And I started training with Leonard Orr for over 3 years, working on and off with him in modules. And then I went to Hawaii and I discovered holotropic breathwork, which is what Stanislav Grof teaches. And that was with much more intense music, much more intense body work, and larger groups. And that was another experience. And so over all of these years, I've kind of brought all the threads together and made my own sort of idea of what I want to do with breathwork, you know, and how I want to use it. And I've made it my own process. And it's always the thing that I go back to. It's always the modality that I trust the most. Not everybody likes breathwork. Not everybody wants to lie down on the floor and breathe and increase their breath. But if you don't want to do that, you can sit in a chair and just connect your breathing and become conscious. Because I think what we do is we're not conscious of our breathing. Everybody breathes. My father used to say to me, how on earth can you have a lifestyle charging people to breathe? That doesn't make any sense to him. But we're not conscious of how we breathe. And we're also not aware of when we hold our breath. And the trouble is when we hold our breath at all the wrong times, when we're confronted, when we're traumatized, when we're in pain, when we're in agony, when we're hurt, that's when we hold our breath. And when you hold your breath, on the in-breath, then you hold the trauma as well. You hold the pain, and it gets stuck in your body at some level or other. And there it sits, and it can sit for years. You know, soldiers that come back from the Vietnam War 30 years later are still traumatized when they hear a door bang and they jump because they think it might be a bullet shot. So these are the things that the breath can slowly start to unpack. As you breathe, you're just exhaling, you're letting go of your trauma that's what we call stacked. And as you get through the stacks and your life becomes lighter and your responses become more conscious to the situations in your life, it just means that you're much more in control of who you are and how you go through life and how you meet people and circumstances. And it's very empowering.
Okay. And what are the origins of this holotropic breathing?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back. It's not only holotropic breathing. I think breathing as such, has been on the planet for centuries. I mean, the rishis did it 400 years ago, you know. The sages were talking about breathing. The Eskimos breathe themselves warm in the snow. It's not a new thing as such, but it seems to have taken on in the Western world as a therapy in the last 30 years or so, 30, 40 years. And that's brilliant because, you know, the one thing that is so enlightening about breathing is it's with you all the time. And you can begin to be conscious of it. So there are various teachers around the globe teaching us now how to be aware of your breath, how to be aware of when you're holding your breath, how long you're holding it for, what makes you hold your breath, what happens when you let go your breath. And so the biggest teacher, I think, of all of breath work is Stanislav Grof. And he's a Czechoslovakian psychiatrist. He's 80 now, but going strong. And he works mostly in the States. And if you want to do holotropic breath work, you have to go to his college because he's very fussy about how he teaches you and how you take out his work into the world. So there's holotropic breathwork with Stanislav Grof.
So did you study with Stan Grof?
Yes, you have to go overseas to do that. You have to be in the States and he runs in a module system. So you get various modules that you can, and then you get points for your modules. And when you've done X amount of modules, then you can qualify as a holotropic breathwork facilitator.
Usually it's a bit more expensive than I thought, eh? But
yeah, it is. It is, especially with our rands. You know, our rands buy nothing in America, not even a loaf of bread. So I didn't complete the module training with Grof simply for that reason, that I live in South Africa and I couldn't keep going overseas at huge expense because you've got to buy your air ticket, you've got to buy your accommodation, you've got to pay for the process, and you've got to feed yourself, and it's a whole lot of stuff. So I did 3 or 4 modules with him, and then I finished a couple of modules with students of his in Hawaii and also here in South Africa.
So how did Steve Grof get started on this thing?
He got started because they were using I don't know if your listeners will know of Asilomar, but Asilomar is this wonderful new age kind of college in California that teaches all the sort of offbeat processes of psychology. And Groff used to work there and do psilocybin and LSD. And he would do these trips with his clients and take them into altered states of consciousness, and then speak to them while they were in, well, you could say while they were tripping, while they were in this conscious, this external state of consciousness, and find out all sorts of traumas that were hidden in there. They would cry about childhood experiences and even past lives, and all sorts of things came up. And he was doing very well using psychotropic and psychedelic drugs and a lot of LSD. And then, of course, these things all became illegal. And the government clamped down, and he couldn't run his processes like that anymore. And then he discovered that with accelerated breath and certain provocative music, he got the same effect. So that was absolutely a mind-blowing experience for him, because to get the same effect with breath and music, both are totally legal and totally uninvasive and not harmful to you in any way, no side effects. And so he started to work with that, and they worked the process until he got it home to what he now calls holotropic breath work.
But did he like, how did he figure that out? Like, how did he go do some research and think like, the Rishis or the Eskimos were doing this in that day, or was he just sitting at home and he was so like worried about his business because they'd stopped the drug and everything? He's sitting there at home just hyperventilating in his chest. Oh my God, like, what am I gonna do with money now? And then he suddenly just went poof, and he was.
I need a miracle. I need a miracle.
And then the next minute
I think what he did is he submerged himself in a hot tub with hot water. And he lay back and he just started to sigh and breathe out his tension. And he found that if he continued breathing in and out like that, he was noticing that he was going into an altered state, that his mind was getting less troubled, and that his body was becoming more relaxed. And so he continued with that for a while. And so I think that's how it all started for him. It was just coincidence.
I'm not far off, eh? So
no, you're not. You're not.
But luckily he didn't drown. Imagine he just passed out and he would, and then we would have never known about this.
Then we wouldn't have known anything about him. Exactly. No, he didn't drown. He started a modality that took the world by storm, actually. I mean, he has hundreds and hundreds of followers, thousands.
Yeah.
So now, quick question on my side. Sorry,
yes.
Ericka.
Yeah.
Is William was saying to me, and I'm sorry, I wouldn't do this. I mean, William was saying to me, no, man, it's like a 3-hour session. I'm thinking, who the hell's got 3 hours to lie down and listen to music in today's world? I mean, there's no way.
Yeah. Well, you have to
heal. I mean, how much do you want to heal, Lee? Like,
yeah, but not for there's no time, dude. 3 hours, never.
Well, I mean,
got to be an easier way of doing it.
To answer your question, the way we do it is, if you want to breathe solidly for 3 hours and then encapsulate those 3 hours with a cup of tea afterwards and a preamble beforehand, then you're going to need 4 hours. Then the only way you can do that is in a workshop setting. You set up a clientele for an afternoon, and they come in at 1 and they leave at 5 after a meal. And then you've got that block. That's the only way you can do it. What I do on an individual basis is I book 2.5 hours. And the client talks for half an hour beforehand. We get to know each other. They get to feel the room. They get to feel safe. They get to unpack a little bit. Then the breathing itself, the actual physical breathing, is usually about 1 hour and 10 minutes, an hour and a quarter. And by then, that's usually where, if you were in a workshop, you would be pushed to go into the second phase. But on a one-on-one, that's enough for one session. And then usually the client will sit up and say, I'd like to have a drink of water now, or a cup of tea or something. And that's inevitably around an hour and a half. And then we have another chat for another 20 minutes to integrate and sum it all up. And that will take you into 2 hours. And I don't think 2 hours is a bad slot for a consultation with someone. I think actually,
I think consulting is not the question. I think that's. I mean, if you go to most doctors, you spend
breathing solidly for an hour, for 3 hours.
So if you're consulting with someone for 2 hours, that's worth the time that time and money that people like. I mean, you got a doctor now.
Yeah.
You spend 20 minutes with him. He tells you kind of that he doesn't really know what's wrong with you. You pay him absorbent amount of money for the 20 minutes. He puts you on some antibiotics.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens.
Yeah.
He sends you to another guy. Then he sends you to the other guy.
Exactly.
Like 4 times more.
Also
doesn't know what's going on.
Well, I think what happens is you go home and you get sicker.
Exactly. So your time is pretty cool. I'm just saying for somebody that, somebody that would be perhaps looking to do not as a healing thing, but perhaps for an altered state type thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And if I know, because I have practiced this on quite a few occasions while I'm driving to work, and I told William this the one day, actually on one of our podcasts. When if you're driving, I concentrate on my breathing. I'm concentrating in and out, and I'm holding, and then in and out and out. But sometimes I almost lost where I was. I was like at one stage, I was like driving around, and after that, I thought,
you always say, don't do this on your way home.
Yeah, I won't do that again.
No, don't do any driving. Jeez, like it.
Yeah, not to. But the thing is,
you don't want to go into an altered state when you're driving down the highway.
Yeah, it's just concentrate on the breath. You know what I mean? Just but for somebody at home that wants to get into it and just kind of get into, even if it's a relaxed state or whatever. Yes, I think music is quite important in anything that you do, really, as long as it's there for soothing and all the rest of it. But what's the technique? What's the idea? What's the breath? So it's 2 in, 2 out, 1 left nostril, 1 right nostril. How's it work?
Well, there's all of that, and the holotropic is nothing other than just breathing in and out through your mouth. And so what people say is, well, you shouldn't breathe through your mouth. It's not healthy to breathe through your mouth. You should breathe through your nose. And I agree. But when you're dealing with trauma, when you're dealing with childhood wounds, when you're dealing with a hijacking or a home robbery or a divorce or something that is really a crisis in your life, and you're wanting therapy for it, the breath work would then be through your mouth, because you get a bigger, stronger, more determined breath going rather than through your nose,
which is like,
which is much more subtle. Now, if you came to me as an author and you said, I've got a block, I can't find my next chapter, I've got some writer's block in then I say, let's breathe through your nose and let's go up into your mind and let's create a sense of thinking processes. But if you come to me with a crisis where your conflict is stuck in your solar plexus, which is where we hold most of our pain. A little child will come to you and tell you that they've got a stomach ache when they're feeling anxious because they don't know how to express their anxiety. So if it's in your stomach, then you want to breathe through your mouth, which takes the air in and down to your navel and out again from there. And that's where the trauma sits. And that's where we want to go. That's what we want to lift. So then it's full mouth in and out. And what happens often is people don't want to start off breathing through their mouth, and I leave it. I say, okay, just get the breathing going as you find comfortable. But then if they cry, then your nose blocks, and you have to breathe through your mouth anyway. So I win. And actually, I don't know if it really makes that much difference whether you breathe through your mouth or your nose in the process, as long as you get a circular breath going and it's constant and there's no interference. You don't talk in the middle of it, you don't pause, you keep the breath circular, going, so that, like a pressure cooker, it can build. And I like it if it's through your mouth, but it's not the end of the world. It's not a rule.
Well, to be honest with you, I actually breathe mostly through my mouth, in and out, because when I was younger, I had a bit of an issue with my nose, and it blocks up a lot. So I can't, you can breathe, but it's almost like it's very minimal going through. So for me, I find it natural to breathe through the mouth, in and out.
Yeah. Well, there are people who say that that's unhealthy because you get nitric oxide through your nose, which helps your brain and helps you think focus and think clearly. And if you're not breathing through your nose, also your nose warms the air, and it's got little follicles inside that does all sorts of things and creates all sorts of magic in your nose. Apparently our noses are wonderful organs that are highly underrated. You know, we haven't really explored the extent of what noses do and what they offer to us. But yeah, there's a lot of writing about that. You know, you can do things to open your sinuses and do things to open your nose passages so that you can get more air in. There are things you can open your palate a little bit and things like that.
With Sadhguru, like if you hold your thumbs, this is a technique he taught me, and it works, and I don't even know how it works. I mean, I know a little bit, but he says you hold your thumbs, you stick your arms out straight, and then you run on the spot. Like you lift your knees up and you run on the spot, and it works every single time to unblock my nose. Like it's just amazing. I don't know what the thumbs. I mean, I can see the legs sometimes cause a bit of vibration. Maybe that's loosening the mucus or whatever. But I don't know what the thumbs and the arms do.
I don't know. These blooming mystics, they have answers for everything that are so simple and so interesting. And you don't know why they work, but they do. Yeah, well, Sadhguru is a big one with breathing. You know, all his yoga has breathing as a precursor. And well, I think that's part of the yogic practice. You know, you don't go to a yoga teacher without learning how to breathe.
Yeah, it's one of the 8 limbs of yoga is the pranayama.
Breath work, exactly.
Yeah,
fascinating.
Okay. So Ericka, is there any danger to do this? Because like my mother, I was trying to get her to come to you. Like I was just like, just go, and she was just like, no, I'm not going, whatever. So then she says, well, can't you just show me how to do it? And then I was like thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to show you how to do it. I mean, what if you freaking pass out or fucking, I don't know, like go into convulsions or shock or fucking, I don't know what could happen. What am I going to do? You know, like I'm not equipped to handle it. I mean, I can, you know, it's like also like all those shamans, you know, all these backyard shamans here in Cape Town, like there's someone that's just taken mushrooms because they're a hippie and they've taken mushrooms like 10 times through their life. They suddenly think, oh, I can do these psilocybin journeys or what. And so one of your guys freak out and jump over the fence and break their arm, and I don't know if I can do so.
We have to be careful. You know, you can't put people into altered states and not be responsible for the outcomes. But what I do with elderly people, or what I do with anyone who's afraid, even with children, is you don't have to lie them down and you don't have to take them through a full holotropic process. They can sit in a chair and you can teach them various breathing counting times. Like Lee had a few, you know, you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold. You breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold. And those sorts of repetitive breathing practices, lots of them. Breathe in for 4, breathe out for 6, hold for 8. You know, there are different rhythms and different styles of breathing that you can bring into the experience of your client without traumatizing them. If your mom came to me and she was too afraid or too timid to lie on the floor and go through a whole big process, I would sit her in the chair and I would do something like 20 connected breaths with her. 20 connected breaths repeated 10 times, for example, and that would send her into a wonderful soft space. 20 connected breaths is 5 breaths that you repeat 4 times. So it's 4 short breaths and a long breath, and 4 short breaths and a long breath, and 4 short breaths and a long breath, and 4 short breaths and a long breath. When you've done those and you hold for a moment or two and just see what's going on in your body, there'll already, just after those 20 breaths, be a sensation of something lifting or something feeling a little bit lightheaded maybe, or something like that. And then you can continue to encourage her just to keep breathing like that for a little while till she gets used to the idea of being conscious about her breathing. Because I think the whole idea of all breath work is to make us conscious of our breath, and to take the breath out of the unconscious into the conscious process.
And also what's nice about the holotropic breathing is like, because I did talk about my experience before you came on, but you go into all the state of consciousness, but it's only there while you're doing the breathing, because like when you stop, you'll come out of it like almost immediately. Not like, I mean, like I remember in my drug days, like in my mayhem, and like tripping on LSD, you know, for like
for 3
6
days
hours.
afterwards.
Yeah, and I'm like freaking out because like I got to go to work in 2 hours, and I've already been tripping 6 hours, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to be tripping at work for another 6 hours, and like you know, you can't get off this. You're like, oh, when you're on the train, you're on. You don't. There's no way coming getting off that train. It's moving so fast,
William is
but
so funny. But it's true. I mean, yeah, I think that there are some overlays. You can go out feeling very exhausted. If you've let go a huge big piece of grief or trauma that you've been hanging on to for 20 years, and it suddenly comes out with a lot of crying or something, that could leave you exhausted. It could leave you wide awake, that you may not sleep that night. It may do the opposite. It could put you to sleep like a baby. So different strokes for different folks. And I think a good facilitator will be able to judge where the client's at when they come out of the experience, and then be able to advise them how to go forward. Because I mean, people come here to me and they've got to drive home. So I've got to make sure that they don't crash into the neighbor's car when they leave my property, you know. And so I always give a cup of tea, and I always make sure that they're talking and everything's good and they're feeling balanced, and then I send them off. And I think that's what any facilitator would do, whether it's breath work or not, you know. I remember when I was pregnant, I went to a psychiatrist for some sessions, and he would just say, okay, your time's up, whether I was crying or screaming with anger or in terrible emotional trauma, and he'd just say, sorry, I'll see you next week this time. And I would sit in my car outside and just cry, you know. And I don't do that to my clients. That's why I don't have them in short succession. I like to have at least an hour between sessions, so that I've got that time to play with. If I need an extra half an hour for a client just to sit and chat and unwind, then we've got that time.
Look, I know a lot of meditation rituals before you even start doing breath work in the beginning is very, very important. Where you've actually got to notice your breath work. A lot of them say like the 5 in, 5 out hold, 5 in, 5 out hold. So there's and then through the nose, through the mouth hold, you know, that's kind of thing. So yeah, that's I think breath work is, like you said earlier, it's been around for quite some time, and I think in most meditation, actually most spiritual practices actually have breath work as a
well, you know, your breath connects your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, and your spiritual body. And it's the one, what can I say? The one thing that connects them all without any contraindication. It doesn't exclude, if you're breathing into an emotional problem, that doesn't exclude your physical response to that emotion, you know. And if you're breathing just into a broken leg, that doesn't exclude your grief around not being able to be mobile anymore. So it's a beautiful process that actually includes the whole person. And I think that was what I was attracted to. I didn't want to just be in a therapy that only used part of the whole experience of being a human being. Because if you break your leg, that's a physical issue, but it's also an emotional issue, could be a financial issue, could be a spiritual issue, could be anything, you know. And if we don't look at the whole person and we only focus on the leg, then I think we're missing out on opportunities of greater healing and greater insight around the human conundrum. We're not just individuals with individual issues. We're so complicated and complex, and we're also connected to everyone and everything. You know, I always say the plants give us oxygen and we give them carbon dioxide. And without the carbon dioxide that mankind breathes out, the plants would not be able to give us oxygen. So there's that lovely symbiotic relationship between everything. And that's what I think is so lovely about breathwork. It's a connecting process. You know that as you're lying there, the whole world is also breathing. Everybody in the world breathes. And it's not gender specific, it's not race specific, it's not language specific, it's just a beautiful open process that you can, you know, accept into your life.
I mean, animals breathe, Plants
Animals
breathe.
breathe, absolutely. And if you watch your animals, you'll see that they breathe much more circularly than we do. A cat, if you notice, when a cat's just lying on the couch breathing, their tummy's just going up and down and up and down and up and down. They know what to do. We learn how not to do it because of our traumas and because of our conditioning. You know, if you're a little child and you are being badly treated at home and grandpa's coming down the passage, you are lying under your duvet hoping that he's going to pass your bedroom door without coming in, and you're not breathing. You're holding your breath, and that's how we start to learn. To hold our breath to make ourselves invisible, to hold our breath so that we don't make a nuisance of ourselves, to hold our breath so that we don't take up space. And then as adults, we continue with these bad habits that we've learned, and they don't serve us. So at some point, it's so beautiful to get into a rhythmic breathing and to find your breathing coming back to you as it was supposed to be in the first place.
They're saying if somebody is going through a trauma, whatever it may be, you never hold your breath. You must always just have a regular, constant flow in and flow out.
Well, I think what we do with trauma is we go, and then we trap it. Yeah. If you can teach yourself to shh, shh, shh in the midst of the trauma, then you don't trap it. And then it's something that then your breathing becomes a part of your healing process, a part of your being able to deal with the circumstance. If you're going to a business meeting and you're bothered about how you're going to present your plan, and you take a few big breaths, you might notice that you were holding your breath before you walked into the boardroom. You know, a child going onto an Eisteddfod, going for a dancing competition or something. If you teach them just to breathe a little bit beforehand, they go onto the stage and they're much more relaxed and much more in touch with their bodies, and they're not uptight, which is a good word for it, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, saying that, I was actually I competed in a race last weekend. And now that you're actually mentioning that, I got to one of these obstacles and it was really, really difficult. And I was struggling, like really, and I was starting to get angry. And the lady that was standing there, she just said to me, listen, stop, breathe, and then try again. And that's actually, yeah, it worked. Exactly what you said there. I just stopped, took my time, said, okay, this is fine, I can do it. And yeah.
What you're
so
doing
you're right,
you're resetting your fight and flight, you know, you're resetting your anger management button. And it's so important. I mean, if you know of how much domestic violence there is in the world, and if people would just say to each other, let's just stop and take a breath and just re-look at our situation, it might solve a lot of problems, you know, because you definitely detonate when you let out. And when you're not all in and pushing through something, the breath can really help us to release negative emotions. And it's such a simple thing. It's right here in your chest for free if we would just get conscious of it. You know, and that's the thing that I think breathwork is showing now to people. It's saying you've got a modality in your chest that's right available to you instantly. You don't have to book an appointment, go to somebody, get a lesson for it. Just take a breath. And then if you repeat that, take a few more breaths and let out whatever you're feeling and breathe in something good. That's what we say in the breathwork thing. Breathe in the good stuff, breathe out the bad stuff, breathe in the good shit, breathe out the bullshit, you know, all those sorts of things that come with the breathing process. Then that becomes an almost natural go-to place. I teach all my couples who come to me for couples therapy that before they have an issue, just hold hands, look at each other, and do 20 connected breaths together. And then very often when they've done that for 2 or 3 rounds, they look at each other, they laugh, and they say, well, what were we going to fight about again? And it just dissipates. It's fabulous for children. You hold a small child to your chest and you breathe. That child entrains with your rhythm and that's the end of the tantrum, actually. I've seen it so often.
That's amazing. So, Ericka, just with the... I'm just going to digress a bit with the group sessions and single sessions. it's so funny because like I hear people like also because I've been doing a documentary on psilocybin mushrooms and they always say like, no, the group session is so much better and no, because like, all these bloody reasons or whatever. But when I came to you that first time and the way I was scream crying and like I was telling Lee, I'm surprised the police when I came out of that I was like, could have sworn that the police were going to come because of the noise I was making and your neighbors. I was wondering, geez, those. When I went to my car, I kind of looked around like thinking. Like I hope the neighbors like they definitely heard that, but like you know, I was still expecting them to all be in the driveways, like thinking maybe Ericka's like killing someone in their house there. But um, I mean,
They're probably used to it, Bob.
I could never, yeah, but I could never ever do that in a group. I mean, if I was in a group, I would have just hold. I mean, I did that one time when I was telling Lee how met you in rehab, and I did cry, but I wasn't like that. But I mean, I would never be able to let rip like that in a group. I mean, I'd hold it back so big time. I mean, so I don't know, what
Yeah,
is the group or which is better?
yeah, I think you're right. I think that there are some people who are self-conscious in groups. There are the other people who want that. For example, when I was in America doing groups with Stan Groff, the music starts and instantly people start to scream. And I just looked around the room and I thought, yeah, they want Stan Groff to come to them. So the more I perform, the more likely he is, the maestro, to come and sit at my side, hold my hand and ask me what's going on, you know. So people have different reasons for the noises they make in the room. One of the reasons why the music is loud is to muffle a lot of those kind of sounds. And then what you find is very often, if your breathing is intense enough and you're going with it, and somebody else starts to cry, that could be a trigger for you. And instead of holding back, you might find that you cry really, really, really loudly. Or some people say, I've never cried like this in my life before. And because of somebody else who started to cry, or someone else shouts, and suddenly you get in touch with that incredible rage that you've pushed down for 40 years and you let it out. And because it's all acceptable, I think what you need to do is come to the first group and not know what's going to happen to you.
Yeah,
that's
the thing, because like now we've let it all out there. Now everyone's going to come there with expectations, and I know because whenever I come with to you, I always want that release. I'm like expecting, and then nothing happens, and then I get so upset. I leave there, and I'm like, it didn't work. God damn it, I didn't do it properly. Oh my gosh, when am I going to have the release? And I'm like so frustrated because it didn't. I didn't have this, and I noticed that when I just go there and I think like, okay, well. Probably I don't need to release anything anymore because like I've done this 3 times now and nothing's happened. So actually I'm healed. It's all gone. Like I'm actually fine. I'm just gonna just have a good time, you know. Then the magic happens again. So it's like you can't go with expectations. And now that we've told everybody what to expect now, they're gonna go have their session and nothing's gonna happen because they're gonna
I'll know how I can get you to cry every single session. Just think of your ex-wife.
Yeah, no, she's like,
if you really said, you might find that you stand up and dance. That you surprise yourself and jump all up and down on your mattress.
Yeah, but that's so funny because like I remember in rehab that second time we did it, like a lot of the guys got up and they started doing handstands and everything. But I mean, we also emotionally effed up when we go to rehab. I was just like looking at these guys thinking like, what a bunch of idiots. Like they're just like trying to like do like, are they like trying to get some attention seeking or whatever? I'm trying, like seriously, I'm being like, I want to get there. I want to get there where I was last time. I'm trying to breathe my ass off and this guy's doing a handstand next to me and I'm like, you fucking idiot. Just you moron. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm stuck with all these retards here. Another guy's doing a handstand there.
You got to remember also that in rehab, you don't get an option. It's not, you don't come to a breathing session voluntarily, which is always so difficult for me, the facilitator, because in my usual groups, people come because they want to be there. They pay you good money and they come to the group because that's what they want to do. But in rehab, you are told this is your process for Tuesday nights, and that's where you go to that room, to that funny woman, to that music, and you do what she tells you. And they don't want to be there half the time, you know. So that's why at rehab I always did the process for half of the breathing and then half of the dancing, because those who didn't want to breathe could then get up and dance, and that was a sort of a release for them, you know. But yeah, it's a different, every group has its own dynamic, and if you tuned in, then you offer the group what it requires. If you're not tuned in, then yeah, then you push the group into your direction, and it's not always the one that's best for everyone.
Oh. And then sorry, just the last thing is,
but I like groups because of the fact that it entrains everyone, and that my pain that I think is so individual to me, I hear in somebody else. And the sharing afterwards is also one of those places where I get to see, oh, okay, I'm not the only one that was abused when I was 3. Or I'm not the only one that sits with an alcoholic parent. Or I'm not the only one that grew up with a single mum, or whatever the case is, you know. And it's a very comforting place, a group, a therapeutic group that comes together. So that's the difference between that and being on your own. You asked the question, what's the difference between groups and single therapy? Single therapy, on the other hand, you have me or the facilitator, whoever it is, totally to yourself for the whole period. So, and that's a different interaction, because then we are entrained together, the two of us, and I'm working with your energetics, and you going, allowing you the space to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think it's safer that way for the individual. But a group is a good thing, because the group has a dynamic of its own. It's totally different to a single session. And I think both are interesting. You know, it's good to go to groups, and it's good to come for single sessions. And it's good to have a facilitator all for yourself. And it's good to see how you blend with other people and other idiots and other assholes doing silly things that you would never do.
but Ericka, you got to chase me out after 2 hours. Now you're telling me it's only 2 hours. I'm telling Lee it's like a 3 hour, because I'm so needy. I'm sitting there, I'm taking up your whole time, you know, like
Not 2 hours, it's an hour and 10 minutes, right, dude?
That's
so now you're telling me that, I'm like, oh my God, I'm probably just sitting there, talk, it's so needy, like trying to, you probably just sitting there like, oh my God, this is fucking guy can get out of here. My next patient is like in an hour's time. So yeah, you gotta just tell me to get out of there, Ericka. Like,
I will if it's necessary. If it's not necessary, I won't. And you know I love you, Will. So why would I want you to go earlier than you need to?
me too, Ericka. Okay, cool. I think we're good. Hey, I mean, hey,
Great.
you got any other questions there?
No, I'm cool.
Lovely. Well, what I want to do is maybe do the 20 connected breaths with the two of you together now. And then
Cool.
if you've got people watching, then they can understand how it goes.
Oh yeah, nice.
So can I show you my hand? Can you see my hand on the screen? Yeah. So if I say to you, go, take a big one with your thumb, then you do this. And then 4 short ones after that. So can we start that and see if we can make it work?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Big one in. And then 4 short ones. 1, 2, 3, in, out. Now you're going to do a big one for your thumb again. And then 4 short ones. Great. And a big one for your thumb. And out. And 4 short ones. And the last line, big one for your thumb. And 4 short ones. And just close your eyes for a moment and sit and see how your body feels. And just let the oxygen go into your brain and into your cells. And what's happening is you're turning your body from acid to alkaline. And it's the alkalinity that allows you to feel peace and feel space and feel relaxed and feel full of goodwill. And hopefully you've breathed out some rubbish. How's it feel? How was it for you, Lee?
Very relaxed.
Yeah, it was like a little bit lightheaded, I think, but
Yeah.
I think that's normal. That's normal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
But
love
it's just to make
reset. It feels like I'm reset and I'm like clear and like I'm so
We're not going to
relaxed.
start crying, eh?
If you watch it, we did like maybe 3 more guys. I would have been on the floor.
Oh dear. Okay, that's lovely. So I mean,
Awesome.
if we all do 20 connected breaths in the morning before we get out of bed, and 20 connected breaths at night before we go to sleep, it's so simple. And it's just making your breath conscious. And then you'll find that during the day, when you notice you're listening on the phone and you're hanging on, waiting to get through to the bank or something, they're playing that shit music in your ear, and you're holding your breath, you can just breathe out. Shh. And then somebody answers.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
just as you're about to start crying, then someone answers. Maybe they'll start helping you more better.
Absolutely.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
what a great way to end it. Thank you, Ericka. That was
Make our
amazing.
breathing conscious. Beautiful.
How can people reach you?
Thank you for inviting me. I've got a website, breathingforhealing.com.
Can they book you there, or how did they?
Yeah, no, I think the best thing to book me is on my cell phone on WhatsApp, which is, can I give it to you?
Yeah, go.
078
Yeah.
956
Yeah.
8477.
Fantastic. Okay.
Breathing for healing.
And your email's on the website, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Ericka, thank
Fantastic,
you, man. Thanks a
Ericka,
lot for your
thank
time.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Lovely. Go
Always
well,
so
gentlemen.
wonderful.
Yeah, you
Love
too.
each other. Be kind to your family and your friends, and keep your breathing conscious.
Will do.
Okay. Great.
Great. Bye.
Cheers,
Thanks, Ericka.
bye. Okay, great. That was awesome. Always so wise.
But anyway, let me end off there quickly. Well, thanks, guys. That was another fun evening. I hope you guys start practicing your breathing and concentrating your breathing. And
Yeah, let us know how it goes. Send us a comment or email or something, and let us know how it's the breathing's
just
going.
don't pass out on the way to work, but
Yeah.
rather do it before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning. And then yeah, guys, we'll chat again next week. Thanks, Span. Thanks, Will.
Cheers, guys. Bye, Lee.
Yeah, cheers. Bye bye.